welcome to Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. I'm Christy Friesen, and guess what we're going to make today? A lump cat. Doesn't that sound like fun? Look at how adorable that is. And you can tell that it's going to be very easy to make because the word lump is right in the title, and you know you can make a lump. We're going to make that lump out of polymer clay. Polymer clay is wonderful to work with. It's so easy. It doesn't air dry. It dries in your home oven. So you can use it, set it aside, go do other things, come back, it's all good. And you can use whatever colors you like. If you want to use traditional cat colors, you can. But if you're feeling a little wacky, blues, purples, greens, it's all good. I do suggest that you have a little bit of pink on hand for his nose or some other appropriate nose color. Now, cats also need whiskers. You don't have to go find a cat and pull out his whiskers. I don't recommend that. Instead, why not use AccuFlex beading wire? It's soft and flexible, and it's ideal for cat whiskers. Who knew? I pre-chopped my AccuFlex into little whisker snippets. They're about 1 inch or 2 long. You can do that with scissors. You can do it with your teeth, but please talk to your dentist first. It may not be recommended. To attach those whiskers to your cat, you're going to need glue. And I tend to use the Pavelka Polybonder. Polybonder is a great glue. It's a super glue. It dries quick, and it also is fine with polymer clay in the oven, and not all glues are. So I recommend that one very highly. And speaking of glues, how about some E6000? Your cat is going to have a collar of jeweled beads, and that collar is on elastic wire, and a little drop of glue on the knot will keep them from unraveling. Your cat will thank you. Speaking of those beads, for his little collar, I like to use some kind of shiny crystal. These are just little bicones. These are probably about a 3 or 4 mil, but anything from a 3 to a 6 mil is probably just about right. Get whatever assortment you like. If you don't want crystal, you can use any bead, gemstones, natural beads, ceramic, whatever your cat is into. That's not going to go in the oven, so it doesn't need to be fire friendly. However, his eyes are going to go in the oven because they're attached to the cat, and the cat goes in the oven. Those are just little flat back glass crystals. And if you can, I recommend you get the hot fix back, because that's the glue back that in the oven melts itself right onto your cat's face. So that makes it rather easy, doesn't it? Now, the only other thing you're going to need is some tools to work with, and I, of course, recommend wire cutter and pliers. That's to cut your whisker wire and your elastic, but you could use scissors if you want to. That's no problem. You're going to want little tweezers. If you have big fat fingers like mine, little needle nose tweezers helps you put whiskers in those hard to reach places. A needle tool is always a handy little tool to have. It helps you with any little touch-ups, any little sculpting details that you might want. So I recommend that as well. And a cutting blade. Cutting blade is like your kitchen knife, only thinner and sharper. So please do keep the sharp ends away from areas that can bleed, all right? But you will want to use that. It's helpful. And if you've got something lying around the house that you can use as a roller, this will just help you press the clay out. It can be a pasta machine, clay conditioning machine, or it can just be any kind of a roller, and that works really well. Okay, so that's all the stuff we're going to need to make a lump cat. Are you ready? So the first step in making your lump cat is making a lump. Now, it's really simple. Obviously, all you need to do is take your clay and start warming it up in your hands until you have a lump. As you can tell, I'm not using a lot of clay, just a bit. It's all we need. But firming it up in your hands, warming it up. If you think warm thoughts, it goes so much quicker. If you have cold hands, then use someone else's hands. And just keep playing with that clay until it's nice and warm. However, that's just going to make a rather boring cat, isn't it? It's just one color. So why have one color when you can have a lot of colors, right? So I'm going to take a couple of different bits of clay, some white, maybe some blue, because, you know, I'm feeling it. And I'm going to start warming that up with my hands, just like I said. And remember how I mentioned that if you had that little roller, you can make that go faster? If you get this on a nice hard surface and roll it, you'll be able to smash all those colors a little bit more firmly together. And then that lets you rip it and stack it. Now you'll notice the precision with which I'm ripping and stacking this. You want this to be all crazy. You don't want to have perfect little lines. So if you're one of those people who needs to get it all the same length and cut it all straight, you can do that, but it's not going to look as fun. So let out your inner chaos. It's all okay. I can write you a note if you need that, and then just rip and stack. Now you notice what's happening when we rip and stack. There's little teeny layers of color, which is exactly what I want. Once you've got a bunch of little layers of color there, then twist it. That twist is going to make them get all crazy business in there, which gives us an interesting lump cat look. This is what we'll be going for, just so you can see where we're headed with all this nonsense. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blade and cut it right in half. See, I'm going straight down with the cutting edge, and you see what's inside? All kinds of fun little stripes. That's exactly what you want. Put those two stripes together. Now, if I just made my lump cat out of that, this portion of him would look terrific. But back here, not so good. So I'm going to cut it again, because there's more goodness inside. Look at that, it's everywhere. So if I start putting these together, now I have this part's fun, these two parts are fun. That's still a little awkward. So just take your blade and carefully trim. Now you notice I'm just about to cut into my fingers, not good. So go very slowly and then get your fingers out of the way as you come near the end. You can hold it on the other side. There we go. And look, you've got all kinds of fun little marbleization in there. That just makes for a really happy lump cat. Save those pieces in case you need them. Now I'm going to form my lump out of this. What you want to remember is that you're just pressing all those clays together to smush all those little lines that you did into a compact lump. You don't want to do a lot of smearing and blending, because then it gets kind of smeary, unless you like that look, and then you totally can. It's a cat. What are they going to say? So what I'm doing is rolling, smashing, and I have my lump. Now, from this lump, all we're going to do is mash it on our work surface. You see how it kind of flares out like that? That means that this little end here, as it flares out, is going to help the cat stay straight. We want to pull a tail out of there. So all I'm doing is grabbing his little cat butt. It's okay, it's a cat, he doesn't mind. And I'm just pulling a tail out of there. If you didn't get a big enough blob to start with, you can still reach in and get some more. If it's way too big of a cat tail, you can pinch a little off the end. And you know, you may want a cat with a monstrous tail. Who says you don't? So see what I'm doing is I'm pinching and I'm twisting and I'm making that tail nice and long and making sure it'll stand up by pushing it down on the table again. Doesn't that look terrific? He looks very lumpy and happy, just like that. Now curve this tail into some sort of cat-friendly curl. See what I did right there? I just made it twist so we like it. Now we have to make a cat face. First of all, ears. All you do for the ears is you're going to take the ends and pinch with your fingers. Those two first pinches, you can kind of see where we're going, very kitty-like. But see how flat they are there? Not good. So pinch this way too. See that? See how that pinches those tight? That's all you do. Pinch this way, pinch this way, pinch this way, pinch this way. If you've seen any Hello Kitty products, you kind of get the idea of what we're going with there. And this one just so happened that the little colors there formed perfect little ear nubs. Boy, it's as if I planned it, which I didn't. Sometimes the clay just gives you fun stuff, so go with that. And you can totally claim it as if you did it yourself, because who's going to know, right? I'm not telling. So now we're going to make our cat body longer and taller. The reason I do this is because I want to put a little necklace around that neck. And if he's got a big fat neck, the necklace doesn't look as pretty. So here's what we have so far. We've got little ear nubs. I've pressed it in a bit to give him a bit of a neck. He's got a fat, blobby, lump-like body. We don't need paws. We don't need any anatomically correct features, just a blob and your happy tail. Now we're ready to put a face on the dude. Faces are really easy. You can go with a color you've used already, or you can branch out and go a different color. I'm going to use a bit of gold colored clay, and all I'm doing is rolling a little teeny ball for his cheek. And from what I understand, cheeks come in pairs on most animals, so I've rolled a second one, and I'm putting two little cheeks, boink, right in the middle of his head area. Then I'm just going to take another little ball, which I rolled when you weren't looking, and stick it underneath there. So now he's got two happy little cheeks and a chin. He needs eyes and a nose, right? Make sure they're pressed on firmly. The clay will grab to itself if you give it a little push. Let's use flat back crystals. Now there's a couple of little tools out there that you can use to help pick up crystals well, and you might want to look into that if you're doing a lot of crystal work, but at the moment, slightly moistened fingertip will help you pick up a crystal and place it in the correct spot. If gravity is very strong in your area, you may have to do that more than once. This is a nice time for either needle nose tweezers or a needle tool to help adjust that crystal. This one wants to play around. Okay, there we go. Stay. You should have two eyes, unless it's a pirate, in which case give him a little eye patch. You can do that. I'm totally fine with that. And now we've got a nice little crystal eyes staring at you. Let's give him a nose. And remember I told you you wanted some pink or other nose-colored clay? I've just made a tiny little ball that I've turned into an oval, and I'm just going to stick that oval right on top of his cheek area. How about that? Pretty good, right? So far, so good. Now, if you don't like the cat staring at you and just that cat eyes like they get, you can take a little bit of your extra clay and give him some eyelids. This will change his expression. When you put the eyelids on, you get angry cat, surprised cat, flatulent cat, whatever you want. Just make those eyelids give the expression. I'm going to make slightly bemused, wondering where my food is cat. And I'm just going to press those two little balls right on top. Where is my food? Now the last thing we need is whiskers. And if you remember, I already cut mine up into happy little whisker-sized clumps right here. This is the easiest way I've found, is give him a giant long whisker, then when it's all done and baked, you can go back and give his whiskers a trim. I'm going to use the glue that I mentioned to you. This is the Polybonder glue. And the reason I like this is I can hold the whisker with my tweezers and use the brush application to just dab a tiny bit of glue on the whisker end. Now, if you don't want to go through all that effort, you can just press the whiskers in. Because there is a plastic coating on this wire, it will kind of melt itself into the clay often. So you can just put it in without the glue, and usually that's fine. But if you don't want to take the chance of your cat shedding its whiskers somewhere along the way, especially if you have vigorous grandchildren who might want to play with him, I suggest a little dab of glue. 3 whiskers on each side is usually the recommended cartoon cat look. You can put more if that makes you happy. Less, and they just look a little mangy. So go for at least 3 on each cheek. And you notice that I'm putting the whiskers in the cheek, not coming out of his forehead, not off on the side of his armpit area. Those are all awkward positions for whiskers. But right in the cheeks works great. All right, let's put 2 more in. And you see how I'm kind of holding it right down close to the end? That way I can kind of get it started and come back and press it more if I want. 1 more, and should do it. And then we're ready. There he goes. Okay, so now we have everything we need for our lump cat. Doesn't he look terrific? Such a cutie pie. Now, after you've got them all done, it's time to bake. Let me tell you about baking. Baking polymer clay is how you make clay firm. It doesn't air dry, it doesn't dry by wishful thinking. It has to go in your home oven. All you do is preset your oven according to the maker's directions on your clay package. It varies from some type of clay to type of clay, so you'll want to read those directions. But preheat your oven, put your little cat in for about half an hour, let it cool, take him out, and then you're ready for the very last step. We're going to make him a little beaded collar. That's very, very simple to do. So once he comes out of the oven, we're ready for the collar. I don't put the collar on while he's wet, because then the beads kind of stick into the clay and they leave marks, and that's just not a good look. So let's take a happy little cat who's already finished. This is our lovely little king cat, and that brings me to a little suggestion that you might want to do. This is a bead cap, a crystal bead, and a head pin. If your cat is royalty, might I suggest a crown for him? So once you've got your cat out of the oven, he's hard, he's firm, he's ready, you're going to get a little bit of elastic thread. Anything that's got a little give to it will allow you to string your beads on. And I'm not going to show you how to string beads, because I'm fairly certain you know how to do that. I had a minion pre-string these, which I highly recommend. If you can get a bead stringing minion, it will make your life go so much quicker. Anyway, string on enough beads so that it would go around his neck. Then tie the 2 ends together, and that's where that other glue comes in. Once you pull that knot tight, you want a drop of glue on the end of that knot, let the glue dry, snip off the ends, and you're ready to put it on. And like I said, we're not putting his collar on before he bakes. We're putting it on after, so it won't leave marks on him. And then it's just a simple matter of letting the elastic thread come over him and around the crown and swing on down past the whisker area. Because they're beading wire, they'll spring back into place. And let me see what we've got. Ta-ta-da! Doesn't that look great with a collar on? It's every cat's dream. Anyway, all these fun little lump cats have all of their bits and pieces made from things you can find so easily right here at FireMountainGems.com.